Okay, well, I think it's 1 o'clock and we'll call the meeting to order. And could we have a roll call?
Yes, roll call for this afternoon. Do I have Byram?
Yes.
Fitzgerald? Hildred?
Yes.
Selden? Here. Walker?
Yes.
Ife?
Are they on Zoom? Yeah, or,
She's not
Ife is on a call. She's gonna
Alice
jump
there?
on. I'm
Okay.
here.
yeah,
Hi.
that's Joyce.
Okay,
And Nancy's excused.
and Nancy's excused.
Okay. Did everybody get a chance to review the report of December 2nd, 2025? Any changes, corrections? We'll accept that as prepared. Thank you. Is there anyone here for the member forum?
There's no member forum today.
Did
Is
you?
anyone speaking?
Not at this moment, I don't.
Right, you raised your hand though, but you're not. Yeah.
But we're members.
Right, no, that's fine. You're welcome
We're here
to
for the
be
member
here.
forum.
Okay, you're welcome to be here and nobody online, right?
Nobody online.
Okay. So in terms of the chair's report, this is going to be quite brief. It's been a little quiet during the holiday season, but we did have a meeting with both of our fellows. Oh, Nancy is here. Nancy's here on Zoom.
Oh, she's somewhere hiding.
Great, Nancy. So glad you could make it.
Thank you, Susan.
So we had a meeting with our fellows, both of them, and they were in different parts of the world. It was great that they made time to do that. I've been meeting with staff, doing some research, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about my focus, or our focus for today. And we're gonna have some great information that Kelsey has gathered for us. I hope today we could identify 2 to 3 specific services in our areas of interest, room reservations, custodial, and transportation. And then not develop KPIs today, but have a consensus in those areas so that we can work during the next month, and hopefully at the February meeting, we could begin to look at some potential KPIs and see how we might want to apply them. That's my goal.
Worthy.
Okay. So now we'll go down to new business. I don't see any questions. And before I turn this over to Jeff, I'm just going to make a couple of comments. In your packet, you received, attached to this item, essential components of a well-written KPI. And I wanted to send that to us, and I'm not going to go over this word by word, but in thinking about the information that Kelsey's going to share with us today, I think it's really useful for us to think about how are we going to develop KPIs? What's important? They need to be specific, they need to be measurable, they need to be able to be achieved, have specific timelines, but we've had a lot of kind of back and forth and everybody may have different ideas, but I thought this was a good basis that we could start from and think about those components as we think about the information we're gonna have from Kelsey and Jeff. And the other thing for me that's critical in this process is that we have a lot of information about what we're doing. And that's great, we can use that, but in terms of really developing effective KPIs, we also need to additionally think about what are our goals for success? And that's an element that we're still gonna have to deal with, and Jeff may want to talk about that himself. But we're gonna spend a lot of time with Kelsey, and the last thing on the agenda that's found framework for establishing KPIs is some initial discussions we've had with our fellows about what their project's gonna be. So Jeff, did you wanna add any comments? I've just taken off here.
Did you want to go through 7A any further, or you want me to give a little introduction into the presentation today?
I think in terms of 7A, we don't really have to go through that further unless the task force has questions. I think we have, as we said, we're going to go through Kelsey's presentation, and I think something that I think is critical from everyone's point of view is in terms of what we're doing, We know what we're doing, but what do we want to try to achieve in what we're doing? So we probably will get into a discussion about that with Kelsey's presentation. So please go ahead, Jeff.
Okay, so to lead off the presentation today, again, based on the last meeting, the committee decided to focus on custodial, transportation, and we have recreation down there, but within recreation, it's really room reservations is the main focus to kind of get us started with things. And we talked about when we've done the budgeting, we talked about level of service that we provide under the approved budget, but what is that capacity really? What is our ability to deliver that level of service, or what is that defined level of service? So the presentation today that Kelsey is going to go through really talks about what are we delivering in each of those areas and what is the capacity based on our resources that we have to deliver that. The other thing to start really thinking about is what is the unmet need? Is there a demand for more different? What does that look like that is not being met under the current level of service? And then the other real significant component is policy. So under each of these kind of areas, if you think about what is the policy constraints on the level of service. So for example, room reservations, policies of how many reservations you can have. Can you have outside groups do reservations? Is it for clubs, residents? What are the parameters that are established per policy that also kind of set some of those limits? So there's a lot of factors other than just pure capacity. So think about those, and hopefully those will spark some questions as we're kind of going through the various departments and what we currently provide and level of service. Any comments, questions before I turn it over to Kelsey?
Can I just interject that Kelsey and I had a little run through the other day on this, and there's tons of great information here, and we would request that Kelsey review each of the segments. We can have questions after each of the segments, but we wanted her to present the reservations, and then we'll have questions. The same with the other two areas, okay? Sounds good? So write your questions
I
down.
don't like that approach, but okay.
Well, I'm gonna try.
You can try.
You're not the chair.
Yeah. The problem is I come up with a question during the presentation, then I forget.
Well, you have to use your little note thing.
We're counting on it.
Or do I? You're gonna miss us, right?
Oh, my.
Okay, so like Jeff said, the presentation will go over what we can reliably provide with the resources that we have. So the areas that we're gonna look at are recreation and room reservations, the custodial department, and transportation. All areas are pretty similar with what we're going to be looking at, staffing, facilities, equipment. So we'll just go ahead and start with, So what is reliably deliverable? Our budgets are stable but capacity limited, and our staffing levels determine hours of coverage, turnaround time, and service availability. In all of these areas, demand already meets or exceeds our capacity, and expanding service in one area requires either review of the budget or reduce service elsewhere. And we'll kind of go through each of those sections. So first is room reservations specifically. For room reservations, we'll be looking at the staffing and services, the facilities that they provide service to, as well as the policy requirements that affect what reservations can occur. And so first we'll look at the staffing. So our staffing is made up of 6 full-time staff, recreation manager, 2 reservation coordinators, 2 application support specialists, and 1 recreation assistant. And this is kind of the organization chart.
Can you remind us, excuse me, can you remind us what an application support
So the
specialist
application
is?
support specialists are going to be the AV techs that do tech operator standby, that provides the high level tech support.
Like Gerald and Jeff.
Gerald, Jeff, the concerts, meetings, the dances, the bands, all of that.
Thank you.
So our recreation manager and our reservation coordinators, they are Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30. The application support specialists, they will vary dependent on what the demand is and what events they are working. So they could work any time between 7 a.m. and 11 p.m., 7 days a week. And our recreation assistant is our one staff that is Wednesday to Sunday, 12 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. So they are after hours and weekend assistants, in addition to our other Monday through Friday staff. Okay, so I'll quickly go over each of them. So our reservation coordinators, we do have two together. For all of the requests that come in, they will take 14 calls a day, respond to 40 emails, depending on if it's history booking for clubs or if it's just the regular time of year. They can meet between 6 to 10 meetings per week or 12 to 20. And that's during history when it's extremely busy for all of the clubs. In addition to their scheduled meetings, they also will accommodate usually up to 15 unscheduled drop-in appointments. This would be a request to just meet with them to go over their pricing, go over their sketches, get a little more information on how to reserve. They'll take, if they have the time, they'll take anybody that comes to the front desk and requests to meet with them. And over the week, they will complete about 40 contracts between the two of them. So staffing, they are quite busy. So anytime that if there is a delay, some of the reasons that there might be a delay in the reservation would be the location isn't available and they need to have the conversation with the renter on what other options they'd like to have. There are changes to the setup. There's no setup submission or it's late, so they are waiting to complete their reservations with all of the completed paperwork. Private reservations will tend to take a little longer because usually it's unfamiliar. Clubs are very well versed in how to do reservations, but private reservations not all the time are. So those will take a little bit additional time. So they might not get a contract immediately or within that week.
Ask a question in this little section?
Go ahead. Because I know
If
you're not
it's a
gonna be able to
private
stay
resident,
the
like
whole thing.
like a resident wants to rent Stanley Dollar for a birthday party.
Mhm.
They have to have some kind of insurance for that?
Yes, so the clubs are covered with the club insurance,
Right.
but the residents that are not part of clubs are not covered with that insurance. So private event insurance is required for all the private reservations.
And how do people get that?
We have a link, we partner with our insurance carrier and they use GatherGuard. We provide the link and it's a really simple question, like check off for the insurance carrier. You give all the information about what the event is, what's included with the event, how many people, and it produces the policy number based on the type of event.
Can you give me an average price for just a private party?
Typically for private parties can be, 80 to 120. Okay, so application support specialists, like I said, these are our high level tech assistants. Throughout the year, they will have, they will be assisting the clubs, the rec programs, mutuals, RWC, which would be our board meetings, as well as private events with the majority of their reservations focusing on the clubs. This past year, between the two of them, they had 428 reservations or bookings for their assistants. And anytime that it might be not available, tech operators are first come, first served. We only have two, so we need to make sure they are scheduled accordingly and far in advance as possible. So if they aren't available, they've already been booked for a requested date. The request is above the ability of what we can provide. There are some thoughts that we can provide more of a performance theater level of service with changing decor, changing stages. They provide the sound and lighting for the facilities, not individual theater and program assistance. And in order to make sure that we have all of the high-level tech assistance available. Any of the smaller needs like mics, setting up a presentation, those will go through the custodial AV. We will, to make sure that they are available for the concerts, we'll make sure our custodians who are trained in doing those duties are assigned to those instead.
I'm sorry, mics and what else?
So presentations, like making sure the presentation or the computer is connected to the, there are some groups might want the assistants just to be a little more comfortable or secure. The custodians are well trained into making sure all of that is set up correctly. And finally, our recreation
Kelsey,
assistant.
just a second. So 2 application support specialists.
Yes.
That would mean it's about 4,180 hours a year. And this shows 1,257 hours. Tell me what would be the difference there?
So the hours are based on some events could be just a few hours, some will be lengthy. Typically, when they're doing a reservation, they will get there before, say it's a concert, they'll do the setup, the sound check, and they'll stay through the concert. Some just need the setup, making sure the sound is level. Not everything is going to be extremely a lengthy meeting. Some could be a number of hours, some will be really short. So it really just depends on the.
So I guess what my question would be, what's being counted in that 1,257 hours if they have 4,180 hours that we're paying for?
Is that actual on-site
With the,
time?
yes.
Does that 1,257 account for prep time?
It'll be,
for the
yes, all the
event?
time that,
The rest would be office time,
yes, not office
making
time,
sure
it's at the event
equipment-
itself,
but I mean, the rest of their allocated hours
or in the office, yes.
for inventories, working on equipment setup and
Correct.
making sure that everything is in order. Any other assignments that may come up?
They'll sometimes meet with groups to go over to make sure they know exactly what they can have, what they can't, what will work, making sure that they're prepared in advance to the event.
So these are event-specific
Yes.
hours? Okay, thank you.
And lastly, the recreation assistant is our off hours and weekend service. That individual will provide on-site coverage outside of our regular business hours. They are the direct liaison with the custodians and Securitas on the weekends when the other full-time staff are not available. They will do after event checks, making sure that those facility is left appropriately. If there's excess mess, if there's any damage, they'll take a look at it and report back to the foreman or to the custodial and recreation managers. They also maintain a lot of our inventory in a number of our facilities, including our dish rooms. And they help maintain a consistent service so that when we're not here on the weekend, they're able to provide the same level of service that we can provide during the week. And our manager, while he is also responsible for all of the classes, the excursions, and the special event coordinators, a lot of his job is focused on reservations. He is the one that does, he works directly with a number of groups to make sure that their AV and room setups are coordinated appropriately. He supports staff during the booking time, during history bookings. He'll take a lot of those meetings and the event center requests to make sure that they are completed fully, all the AV and all of the setups are prepared. And he works directly with Jeff, with Ann, and myself to handle any escalated or complex issues and remain consistent with policy, with operations and planning. And specifically for him, all of this information regarding the phone calls and emails he receives are directly related to room reservations exclusively, not the other 3 areas that he is responsible for. So he will have 12 calls a day, 30 emails a day, 13 meetings per week. He does have a lot of unscheduled walk-ins as well, up to 8 per week. And on his own, he'll complete 4 to 6 contracts per week. Regarding facilities that we reserve, we have our 5 clubhouses. Within those, we have 19 meeting rooms, 14 no fee, no service, which will include the meeting rooms as well as the 1 performing arts room. We have 3 large banquet facilities, the plaza, the theater, and a number of picnic sites.
So I'm going against my own suggestion.
That's
But
okay.
just to clarify, because I know I was a little confused, we have 19 meeting rooms, but 14 of those are no fee, no service.
About 13 are no fee, no service, and
13.
1 is the performing arts room.
Okay, but I just wanted to make sure it's not 19 plus 14. The
Yeah.
whole
So
total is
only-
19.
But that means only 5 meeting rooms are under contract?
There, only 5 we collect fees for, yes. We have a number of the approved no fee, no service spaces that are heavily used.
Yeah, the no fee, no service, some of those are reservations and some are,
They're all
Yeah.
they're all reservations.
okay, so you don't have those open,
No, those would be the community rooms.
Yeah,
The
okay.
community rooms are
NPR.
gonna be the Echo Room, the Redwood Room, and
The NPRs, right?
the NPRs are no fee, no service.
Oh, sorry.
So the community rooms are available for drop-in,
Oh, there we go.
meet with your friends, have card games. We don't reserve those. So the no fee, no service rooms are all reservable. So we produce contracts for them. And just to go over some of the numbers to take a look at. A large number of our reservations are no fee, no service. About 5,400 of them, of the meeting room reservations, are no fee, no service. Our large banquet rooms, which takes up a lot of staffing time with setup and cleaning, tear down, we have about 1,600 reservations for those. And 922 for the performing arts room, which is one of our no fee, no service spaces. The groups will handle that room on their own. So while it's no fee, no service, it does have a lot less, other than us reserving it, the groups will take a lot of responsibility for it. And then just the comparable hours that we have for all of the bookings. Again, a large number of our meeting rooms are no fee, no service. With about almost 16,000 of the hours are no fee, no service in those meeting rooms, and about 8,700 for our banquet rooms.
So Kelsey,
Yes.
it's good to know what's used, what's missing to me is capacity. So of these rooms and the hours that are operable, how many hours are vacant and therefore part of perhaps unmet demand? I don't know.
So one of the things I will say for the unused is a lot of our spaces, especially when they're no fee, no service, they will be reserved but might not be used by a group. They'll leave it empty, they don't want to use it that day. We might not be notified, so a lot of areas might be left open or look like they're open, but they're actually reserved by someone.
I guess what I'm saying is non-reserved hours.
I can get that.
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
interesting to see this
Yeah.
as a percentage,
Sure.
really, of availability versus just hours, because then you're
Right.
trying mentally to try and figure out what.
And
And
one
what
of,
does that availability clock look like?
yeah,
You
so
know, yeah,
I will say that availability and the ability to reserve might not technically go together, because we do have to manage the staffing resources and our ability to turn over rooms and make sure they're clean. So there are specific times when they're gonna be vacant because they need to be, because we need to do that turnover, we need that time. But I can
one of
find
the
that.
things that we're after, I think, Kelsey, is the question of, do we have rooms available that we're not using simply because we don't have staff? And would it make sense to hire more staff to deal with those, trying to answer those kinds of questions? And so numbers to get at that are kind of what we're aiming at.
It also prompts some policy questions in terms of how long can a reservation be made for? You know, can you make a 6-hour reservation? Can you only make it 4-hour or 2-hour
Yes.
reservation. Should that be part of the discussion?
Yeah.
The other thing that comes up with all of our amenities is the time of day. I mean, we know that people want to use the amenities when the peak times. So kind of within here, we could add some peak usage times too.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah.
And what do people rent the theater for? 1,000 bookings.
So the theater will have, clubs will have movies, they'll have.
Oh, you count the ones that are normally shown during the week?
Those are counted,
Okay.
because we have to make sure that it's prepared. Our custodians, I'll talk about that later, our custodians, facilitate that. Our board meetings are in there, other clubs will host meetings in there, so it's quite used, it's used quite a lot.
I think Nancy had.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, Nancy, did you have, where'd Nancy go?
Oh, she disappeared.
Shoot, sorry, Nancy.
Sorry, Jeff made my
There she is.
point.
Go ahead, Nancy. You had a question?
Yeah, no, I took my hand down. Jeff made my point, which is that it's important
Can you
to,
turn the volume?
Oh, hold on. We're gonna turn your volume up. Hold
We
it.
can't hear
It
you.
should be.
it's not,
You get to the main screen here.
Okay.
Try again, Nancy.
okay, thank you. Turn the volume up just for me to say, never mind. But yeah,
Really?
no, Jeff made my point, which is that, there are prime times, and that's really more like if, they want to offer you a room at 8 a.m. or at 8 p.m. or something like that. There's like prime time is between 11 and 4 or so kind of breaking it down between how many groups it would be acceptable to have an evening reservation and how many groups would just not consider it. And also, too early in the morning.
Yeah.
So, just for context, the reservation team, they facilitated about 2,800 contracts during 2025. A lot of that will be during the history booking period for the clubs. 28 between the 3 staff that directly create the contracts.
Kelsey, are there any expected efficiencies with the new system for room reservations?
Yes, the efficiencies would come with our reporting, with invoicing. The process will be similar to how we create the reservation, but one of the things we are interested in is how much of recurring reservations we can do in the future. If clubs are history, they're history, and is that something that we can just continue for a number of years at a time to reduce the amount of staff time that has to happen every year? That's the question for the future. Okay, so some of the factors that affect the reservations that are more so to room requirements or policy. The club uses per week, this was the new requirement this year that clubs cannot have more than 4 recurring reservations per week. That creates a lot of additional space for new reservations to happen, but that means that some clubs that are used to having more, they're not able to have a reservation. So if they submit and would like a reservation that's now recurring, we aren't able to accommodate because we are sticking with the 4. The total number of clubs, there is no max the number of clubs that we can have. The more clubs we have means the more recurring reservations and more history reservations that we produce every year, which can slowly, without having more facilities, reduce the number of new reservations or private reservations that can occur each year. And the reservations are evaluated based on attendance and the type of event. So that was something new that was this year as well. In order to try to open up the facilities and the rooms to appropriate size or the correct type of reservation, we are now looking at the request to see if it's something that's compatible with the space or if it can be moved to another location. Whether or not a group or private reservation would like to do that, it's up to them. And if we are not able to accommodate them in the room that they would like, they might decline their application. And the last is
Does that happen very often?
More so with wanting to have a small event at the event center that, can accommodate up to 500, but the request might be for 100 or for 50. And we tried to put them in the spaces that are more appropriate because our smallest banquet room holds 160. So having something so small in that space, it happens more so than other of our locations, just because it is the newer, prettier, exciting facility.
In demand.
In demand. So for non-resident use, so whether if it's permitted for a private reservation to host an event that is, say, a fundraiser for an outside group and hosting exclusively non-residents, or a club event that's heavily attended by non-residents, is that something that not something to look at in order to free up more space for residents? So not allowing, say, a non-resident fundraiser from occurring, to make sure that the space is being used by the residents themselves.
Are we looking, Susan, at making recommendations for things for policy to consider?
I think we can do that, and some of them may already be on the docket, so, yeah.
We'll begin talking about some of these things with policy committee, but information that you all uncover and talk about might be key influences in terms of decisions that policy makes.
And just to clarify on number 4, you see that as a potential factor, but there's not a policy specifically relating to that at
No,
this point,
so
right?
yes, so it'd be a future policy. So right now, if someone wants to have a large event for an outside group, that everything goes to that group, that it doesn't
Okay.
affect the residents or impact the residents of, is that permitted?
Isn't it true we've had a decrease in the number of clubs, not an increase
We have,
in the
so
last year?
it's kind of tricky. With the new staff that have come the last few years, we've been able to follow up more directly with the clubs to understand who is still active and who isn't. So we've realized through doing that a number of previous clubs have been inactive for some time. So they were counted and we're not actually using the facilities or, doing events or anything. So right now we have about 100 and we have a couple more coming in, so about 169 clubs, I believe. Okay.
I'm sorry, but do you keep track of club requests that cannot be satisfied?
Any requests, I'd be interested in knowing, but,
Yeah, well,
yeah, but I don't think we do.
We don't directly, we always try to put other suggestions in order for the reservation to occur. But we don't have an exact number of how many we've declined.
and is that something you could keep track of?
It's something we could, especially with the new year starting separately. It's not something that would go into our reservation system. It would be something that staff would have to do manually.
So I think that's something we could talk about as a potential.
I mean, I think
Area of
it's an
interest.
important thing to know.
I think you probably need to put some parameters on that as well. Is how many were not accommodated in the specific day, time, location as requested, or how many were turned down because of no capacity. So if
Yeah.
a club came to us and say, we want to have the event center on March 13th, and we say, no, it's not available the 13th, but you can have it the 14th, is that a denial? Or you can't have it, you can have Fireside based on your size on the 13th, is that?
Well, if they make a contract, then it's not a denial to me.
So that's kind of what I think we need to define is what
Right.
constitutes a not meeting the need or the
Right,
request.
where nothing could be worked out.
Right.
Basically.
Excuse me.
Okay, and just to end the reservations, what we can accommodate reliably with our current budget and staffing, 6 of staffing specifically for reservations, complex AV assistance, coordination of room setups, AV needs and custodial services. Some of our limitations would be evening and weekend on-site support. As I said, we have 1 person that will work after hours. Reservation capacity is limited by the facility space, custodial staffing levels, and the applicant flexibility. Peak demand periods may result in longer processing time. That's why we extend our processing time for club bookings, because that is the priority for a number of months. And expanded service levels would require looking at policy changes or the budget.
So I think we need to actually measure what your question is, what is the demand that's not being met? But we have to really, so is it outside the restrictions that are established right now? So does that count as an unmet need, or is that an expectation that that's not met? So what is within the parameters of the reservation system, what are we not able to accommodate? If that makes sense.
And I also,
Because I see here limited evening and weekends on-site support as being a limitation that would perhaps mean that you don't have an event, or you can't do it, or you can't offer the services. And so how do we get a handle on that?
So I think what that needs a little bit more, I'll give you an example. We had a reservation up at Las Trampas Room, where they had some significant tech requirements, but didn't have a tech time reserved. We don't have somebody here that could just pop in and resolve your problem, right? Or take over, or it's not like a convention hall where make a call and somebody can show up. We don't have that kind of support here, especially on the weekends or evenings. So if your reservation is in the middle and something happens, the microphone doesn't work, we don't have just somebody in the room that can resolve.
And
So there's some of that.
How often do we encounter that kind of a problem? And what would it be worth to solve it? That's what the KPI should enable us to get at, to understand whether or not it's a problem worth solving, and go from there.
I have a question about the recreation events that are sometimes free, sometimes not free, all those events, right, that they do. Do they get priority over the clubs as far as booking? That's one question. Do you know?
So the recreation and RWC events have history just like the clubs do. So those events or those programs or those meetings, including mutuals, all have standard history that we book at the same time that we're doing club history, so that it remains consistent from year to year.
So I have a question about that. Let's say a club has a conflict with a recreation event, right? I mean, is there any flexibility on those recreation events, or no, you just give them their dates? And because there's a lot of them, right? And I don't know.
There is flexibility.
I'm not gonna say it because he's gonna put.
There
he always puts
is
my words
flexibility.
all over the paper.
There is flexibility, but there is also bookings and contracts with, say, talent, or that has already been, so if it's something that is already scheduled, promoted, or booked, then and it is a traditional date that recreation uses for, and these are community-wide events, not focused on one group.
Exactly.
So they have kind of a broader benefit.
Yeah.
Then no, we're not gonna move it.
Right.
If it is something that we're individually working with a club that has a very specific need and it's a one-off, and we can go, yeah, we can have this on this date and that, yeah, we've done that many, many times.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
So the last item there says expanded service levels would require budget or policy changes. We've talked about some of those policy changes. In terms of budget, that's really due to technical specials, what do they call it?
The AEs.
Yes, so it'd be like Adrian said, having additional support on our after hours and weekends, additional AV support to have more high-level tech assistance throughout the year.
So when we're looking at capacity of rooms available in hours, we should in conjunction with that, look at capacity of the techs or whatever.
Well, and custodial service as well.
Yes, yeah,
Next section.
And the techs are one that the board just, last year approved expanding from one to two because we had such limited, and now I'd say we're meeting, we don't turn down too many requests for tech time. People usually don't use tech time that they probably should because they don't want to pay for $40 for per an hour for the service. But our ability to actually schedule them is, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we turn too many people down.
Not when, no, not because they're not available. It's more so that it's not compatible. And our club events that go through history, we do reserve our techs in advance to make sure that they're available. The ones that might get declined, sometimes they don't know who they're going to have. They don't know if they're gonna have a band. They'll request within a month, within a couple of weeks, and that's something that can't be accommodated. But for the most part, we're able, with the two of them, to complete the requests.
I have a question. On the recreation assistant and then the application support specialist, they have evening hours,
So,
Wednesday through Sunday, and one of them is Monday through Sunday.
so the recreation assistants are our after-hours support that is directly related to recreation. So since our staff are not, our other staff that work 8 to 4:30 Monday through Friday, they're not available at night. So if someone wants to ask a question about their reservation, specifically if they want to add something, that's not something that can happen after hours. Our assistants there to help with the events that are already scheduled and are occurring at that time. And then the AV support, they will work varied hours based on what the request is or what the demand is that we're able to accommodate. But for completing contracts, for doing reservations, setups, all of that is Monday through Friday.
Did that answer your question, Alan?
Sort of.
Oh, okay.
Not sure exactly what they do, but.
So the recreation
after hours.
assistant
She's on deck.
is just that, an assistant. They will pop into events just to confirm, hey, is the dish room unlocked? Do you have everything you need? Are
I've never seen
you
it.
having any issues with the kitchen? Do I need to get a hold of a custodian for something? They're kind of going around and also confirming that things are being used the way they're supposed to be used and so forth. The AV techs, the application support, they're actually running specifically if somebody has a band or some kind of performance, they're running the soundboard, the lighting for the show, and they're there.
So my question to that is then, with these hours, are they on site during these hours all the time?
Their hours are flexed, so they don't have a fixed schedule like most of the staff that would work 8 to 4:30. Their hours, one week they may work a Monday through Friday, the next week they may work a Tuesday through Sunday kind of deal,
Like a
depending on
swing
where the
shift.
demand for their services are.
Okay, so if I was at an event here or was running an event here and I needed AV support, couldn't I call one of them?
Not necessarily, because their time, if they are scheduled in the evening, is because they are assigned to a specific show already.
You have to do it way in advance.
Yeah, if you are having, say, something up in Diablo Room and you have a performance going on, but you didn't book AV time and something goes south, they're not, they may, but
Might be
they're
around,
likely not here. It would be trying to track down a custodian to see if they could troubleshoot. But
I got it.
we don't provide that level of service.
It's not an on-demand
No,
service.
it's way scheduled. in
It's only a
advance.
scheduled
Yeah.
service. Yeah. Try
All
to
right.
make people may not understand.
Well, but and that's that's it. And they work all different times, the AV special. Often they're working like a swing shift, 3 to whatever, 10 to 8 or whatever. I mean, they don't, they have very flexible schedules and they're usually extremely accommodating for the clubs.
We are not designed to be that like convention
Yeah,
center
not-
level.
yeah.
That's just, it's
Yeah.
not the expectation or should be.
Susan, Ted has a clarification.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ted, please, go ahead.
On seven B 17, non-residence use. Is there, and I don't know if you could even possibly do this because it would come from a club that would ask, I want to rent the room, but they're renting it from somebody from the outside who wants to have a bunch of people either from the outside or inside or anything. They're doing something here. As president of the garden club, I used to get 3 calls a year. They want me to sponsor them for a movie. They want me to sponsor them for a meeting in the event center, insurance company, all kinds of stuff. When a club does that, and they're sponsoring it, you're getting the room for this. Is there a way to decipher it, is what I'm trying to say?
In other words, to
Outside
track the
person-
What they're
non-residents.
using it for.
Right, so the
Oh,
application will explain what the event is for. It'll be collect how many residents and non-residents are attending, who it's on behalf of. We also get the guest lists that go to Securitas. We upload them, so we know if we get a guest list for 300 for an event that's 350, we can see where it's from non-residents versus residents.
So you get reports from Securitas.
It comes directly to us and we put them into the security gate. So
And
we
you've
give them
been doing
passes.
that for about a year,
A
so.
year. Mhm.
So there was a period of time when that wasn't as monitored.
Right.
You could say that's good or bad, but that really tells you when you see all those external guests coming, it's like, okay, what's happening here?
Yeah, it literally used to be that the gate would have the reservation schedule, and if somebody showed up and says, I'm here for whatever,
XYZ. Yeah,
Leave them in.
yeah.
now you specifically have to have the name on the list.
Okay, I'm looking at the time. Are we ready to move on to custodian?
Custodial.
Okay.
Okay, so for custodial, we're gonna go over the staffing, the service, and the facilities as they relate to reservations specifically. And so for staffing, our custodial department is made up of our custodial manager, custodial AV, as well as custodians. And we have 16 full-time. And quickly go through the difference for each. So our custodial manager manages the department budget, trains and hires staffing, works with contract companies for upgrades for the facility for AV. So he's responsible for the entire department as well as their budget. We have 2 custodians and they are responsible for the daily cleaning of all of the facilities, clubhouses, fitness centers, all of our offices, picnic sites that are used during the summer, and then the designated use amenities. We have 13 custodial AV techs. They will perform all the duties of the custodian as well as provide that basic level AV assistance for setting up microphones, projectors, assisting with presentation setups, and then doing all of the movies setups for clubs and for recreation.
Susan Mary has a clarification
Oh,
question.
go ahead. I gotta look around here. Thank you. Mary?
But what are tea houses?
Those are the restrooms for the golf.
Okay.
It's
TEE.
not, it's
Yeah,
not
TEE.
sipping. Well, I guess it could be.
You know, I'll drink out.
Okay.
Okay. So
I
our
noticed there's some new toilets at Dollar.
Ooh.
That's awesome.
So our custodians are Monday through Sunday. We provide service 7 days a week, 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. And 4 to 5 staff per shift. So we'll have night shift, day shift, and the shifts will change during the week. We'll have some that work Tuesday to Saturday, Sunday, whatever is 5 days. So we will only have 4 to 5 on shift at any point throughout the day.
Is there always a custodian AV tech on any shift?
Yes. And then we will have a foreman as well. So there's a day foreman, night foreman, and then a weekend one. So just a quick breakdown of what our custodians are responsible for and the services they provide. 45% are for the room setups, which is a pretty good chunk of their duties are specifically for setting up and preparing rooms for all of the reservations, while 55% are focused on the custodial services for all of the different facilities. And you can see just by looking at this, a lot of their time is spent at the event center as it's one of the largest facilities. And Dollar and Gateway, they're at 10%, assuming because a lot of our facilities, our rooms at those facilities are now no service. So they are no longer dedicated to turnovers at those facilities.
And Kelsey, just so I'm sure I understand, when you say custodial services, you're saying like janitorial?
Janitorial, yes.
And Kelsey, if we wanted to understand in terms of like the room setups, what's being done based on a club request or a mutual request or a private request, could you provide that if we wanted to?
What do you mean by that?
So in terms of the setups, are most of the setups driven by requests from clubs or private bookings or mutual bookings, that kind of thing? Would you have that information?
Yes.
I don't necessarily get it. I just wanted to know if you had it. Okay.
So
It might be useful in the budget to see janitorial services, because when you look at a budget of 2.1 million, you go, what the heck is all of that? I'm paying $27 a month for what? And really, what, $14, $15
Most of it
is janitorial, which makes so much more sense. Just the thought.
So the custodians, just a quick overview of what they're responsible for janitorial wise. We have throughout the valley 62 restrooms, 41 cubicles, 53 offices, 447 trash bins, and 151,000 square feet of flooring that they're responsible for. And if you think about it, for the restrooms, those are regularly reviewed and cleaned multiple times a day. So that 62 could be a number of times throughout the day that they're pulled away.
By the way, they do not maintain the fitness center.
They do.
They do.
They don't do the locker rooms. They do some of the locker room stuff, but we have a separate service that does evening cleaning in the locker room. But throughout the day, if things come up and so forth, but the actual fitness center, we have one person that.
In addition to the traditional duties that you might think of, they also will be responsible for a number of the picnic tables and outside furniture at Dollar, Hillside, Gateway, Event Center. We have 80 tables for the picnic sites.
Are they the ones to call if the bee traps are full? Do they replace?
That's actually landscape does that.
Okay.
It's a little bit of interesting combination of who does what on the outdoor stuff.
They'll reset a lot of, even our picnic tables, they'll get removed and moved to
Like if
different
we see a
areas.
bunch of yellow jackets, we should call landscaping. Yeah. Okay.
They will respond to facility emergencies. If a pipe breaks, maintenance will fix it. They have to clean it, so they'll get pulled away because that is a safety issue. And also biohazard emergencies, anytime that there is something that needs to be cleaned up, even on the buses and the fitness center, the custodians are pulled away to handle that. They're the ones that will take care of any of those type of emergencies that happen. And generally, they are the most visible out of all of us. And so they will get random questions as well. They'll get pulled to just talk to the residents, they'll ask how to fix something in their house, if they have suggestions, where to go, how to get to a certain clubhouse. They'll take time out of their day to also do that customer service.
So thinking about this from a KPI perspective, I see all the work they do, but we don't have any measures at the present time I'm aware of that indicate whether that work has been done correctly, appropriately, et cetera. You know, you go to a public restroom in an airport, for example, and there's often a little thing you can push on the outside that says smile or frown, you know.
I never touch those things.
All I'm trying to get at though is
The quality.
okay, and I'm not sure what those measures should be. I'm not suggesting anything particular, but I do feel that having some sort of reference measure that we could set for some of these things would be very useful. Particularly set up on the club, on the meeting room, that seems to cause some friction. And how do we know whether we're doing a good job there? And the cleanliness thing, it seems pretty good actually, so I'm not sure we really need anything there, but.
That's nothing you ask, but
Yeah,
I think where we would have that, or the value in that would be how many setups have been missed or haven't been
Yeah.
according to the sketch
Sketch.
kind of deal. And some of the adjustments that the team has made has improved that, because that was one of the goals, but that would be a good measure. You know, how many complaints or how many issues are we getting where a club or a private rental, whatever, is coming back and saying this was missed or wasn't according to the sketch or whatever.
So one of the obstacles to unmet demand is not necessarily janitorial services, but room setup.
Yeah.
That's why it's so important to separate those two and understand what the capacity is with room setup, and is it adequate or is it overabundant? Is it affordable? What are the other buzzwords? Caracas.
Lastly, for custodial are the facilities that they are responsible for. And go back. So they have 5 clubhouses, the fitness center, locker rooms, picnic sites, the tea houses, and RPM. And specifically for reservations, they regularly are able to accomplish 66 setups per week, 5 turnovers per day. That'll typically be in our medium-sized banquet rooms or the meeting rooms that are not no fee, no service, that are club, fairway. They'll set up 4,700 chairs per week and 536 tables per week as it relates to room use.
Do you keep a track of like how many facilities are used more than once in a day? Like this club has it till noon, and this person's coming in 3 to 6, like all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
There must be a lot of facilities that are used more than once a day, I imagine.
Yes, the medium-sized rooms are used quite a lot, and those require the turnovers. The no fee, no service rooms, those are most used by the groups because there is no fee associated. So we'll have back-to-back reservations for all of those. And but that doesn't require custodial assistance to turn them over, other than just monitoring, making sure the trash is taken out regularly, and just checking on the rooms. But that's kind of the benefit of the no fee, no service, that we can allocate them to other facilities.
Ted has a question.
Go ahead, Ted.
So you brought up a point, in a no fee, no service room, let's just pick the MP3 room. It's kind of set up with the tables down like layered rows with chairs all around it. Somebody comes in and rearranges that whole thing, then they take off.
Yes.
I'm all done, I'm out of here. I know that they have to check after that. That now becomes a service room because we have to set it up again the way it was in the beginning because they didn't do it. Does that mean, how is that built out? Do we do that and build a person and they just thought they had a no service room and now they gotta pay? Or is it, we eat that and try to figure out how that's done? You know what I'm trying to say?
We got a lot of answers for this one. Go ahead.
Because I know what happens.
It does.
I see it all the time, and especially the MP3 rooms, everybody goes in there and starts rearranging the chairs, the first thing, chairs
Right.
get rearranged.
Yes.
You
There-
can pay for that.
You
though.
can. There are some clubs that use the no fee, no service rooms, and they will pay for the service fee in order to have staff set up and put it back into what the standard is. There is the expectation with no fee, no service that the standard is used, and if you adjust it anyway, it's moved back, whether or not that happens. That is something for our recreation assistant to look at and see the usage of those spaces to see how they're being utilized and kind of report back to our manager, and he'll follow up with the clubs.
I apologize, but I have to.
We'll miss you.
So maybe the question should have been, is that something that is something I have to run into
Yeah, is that a
more
problem?
often than not?
Yeah.
That somebody rearranges a room, put it in no fee, no service room, and then we have to put in hours, whatever it is, over the course of time, to rearrange it to get it back to what they expected. Yeah.
It's not that common, since the expectation is for the group to put it, to return it. If there is an issue where it's out of place and the club needs assistance, then we will go and assist, and then we'll follow up the club prior. Okay. So,
Good question.
okay, so for our current budget and our staffing, we can reliably provide service 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday through Sunday. 4 to 5 custodians make up those shifts during those time periods. We're able to provide daily setup and tear down, turnover, as well as basic custodial service and emergency response for facilities and biohazard issues. Where we have limitations are absorbing additional events, expanded hours, or last minute requests that comes in where a group will have a reservation, they'll have their sketch, but then decide the day of they want to change it. We don't have the staffing to be on demand to go and adjust that. Peak demand periods require prioritization of events. So we don't want to overbook our facilities to the point where our staff cannot facilitate the setups or keep up with the cleaning. So during times of higher reservations, a lot of that time is during our Christmas season, or our holiday season is widely used. We need to make sure we are scheduling the events so that our staff can provide assistance without having missed setups or rooms not being cleaned, restrooms not being cleaned. And
Just a quick question. For most of the contracts, if not all of the contracts, the booking time gives at least a 30-minute window before the event starts and when the event ends. Is that?
for turnovers, or?
Yeah.
It depends on the facility.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so our larger facilities will need a few more hours in between, so to make sure that we are able to clean, to reset, and to set the room how the second group is requesting. It does take additional time, which is why that period is not reservable, and our custodians will be already preoccupied with getting that room turned over.
Okay.
Yeah, and so and specifically for our AV support for custodians, because our AV techs will be already reserved, there might be a time, like Jeff said, when someone needs additional assistance, where our techs can assist and would like our custodians. Our custodians have a specific role to play for AV, it's basic setups, and they can only stay for 15 minutes to provide that AV assistance. They're not able to provide that higher level of tech service.
Do we have any measurements on those kinds of requests from,
Like the one-offs, you mean?
one-offs,
Yeah.
during the meeting where the custodial AV person comes in? I'm just trying to understand whether or not we could use an extra one or two of those people. Would that make sense or not?
We can look into how, so all of that will be tied to like the application, so that'll be manual. I don't know if the new system, if there's a way that we can put in that, which would be great. But right now it would be manual, but I can look to see.
Yeah.
Any other custodial?
Kelsey, that helps us understand that whole operation better and understand the variables that,
Yeah.
the levers that can be moved to accommodate more or less or be more efficient, whatever. So I think that's what's important from a KPI standpoint, is that we know what levers to move and when.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Rather than flying blind.
Okay. Last is our transportation department. And we're going to look at the staffing, the coverage of service, and our fleet. And first, staffing. Our budgeted staffing is 9 with 1 foreman who is also a driver, as well as 8 drivers that are driver dispatchers. We are not at our full staffing right now. We are at 7 full-time staff. So we do not, we are not at our full-time or FTEs, which means that the capacity that I'm showing is based on what we could provide with our budgeted staffing, but not currently what we are able to do. So
Sorry, so it shows driver number 8 is dispatch and
Yes.
foreman is dispatch?
yes, so a driver will always be pulled. We don't have a specific dispatch position. One driver out of the 8, if we are fully staffed, will always be pulled to dispatch.
Or 1 out of the current 7 would be pulled, right? Meaning you'd have 6, right now, generally, we have 6 drivers,
We have
right?
5 drivers on the road.
Oh, 5.
With the 1 foreman and 1 driver dispatcher,
Oh,
or 1 driver dispatching. So we have 5 drivers currently on the road. If we're fully staffed, we would have 7. And that's what we're budgeted for. With that staffing level, this is what the anticipated hours of service would be 6:20 a.m. to 6 p.m. Right now, we are at 7:20 a.m. to 6 p.m. So adding additional staff would allow us to open earlier in the day and then have additional coverage during throughout the day. So with 9 staffing and the service coverage they could provide would be almost 12 hours of service throughout the day. It's still 1 hour request time for a pickup, so many require 24, 48 hours to request a ride. We only require 1, so the wait time to request your pickup is just 1 hour. And with the number of staff on the road, it would be about 20-minute wait time on the bus. And this is the areas that, these are the areas that we would cover. It's what we currently cover now. It's all of the valley, all of the clubhouses, the homes, fitness center, anywhere within the community, as well as outside Rossmore at the shopping center. And we have 10 locations downtown that we will service to the residents as well. These include Kaiser, Trader Joe's, Whole Foods. Since we do not have the 9 full-time staff, the numbers that I added are based on what I can provide, not guess. I don't want to anticipate what it would be with having 9 and provide not, just an estimated value. So with our current staffing for the roster community, this will include also downtown as a whole. This is our whole program. 29 rides per bus per day, about 145 total rides. For 25, we had almost 36,000 facilitated rides, and our average is around 30 minutes per ride. It could be 20 to 40, depending if you're going to be in town or if you're going downtown. Will depend on how long your ride will be.
And for the downtown rides, how do you take a bus to Gateway and then there's a bus that goes from there?
It's all on demand. So the drivers will pick up wherever the resident would like. That could be at their home or at anywhere within the valley for a pickup. And they'll take them directly to their location downtown. It's not a fixed route. It's specifically from pickup to drop off location.
They'll go once an hour, so they'll consolidate the requested ride, so it's not just picking you up, taking you downtown, and
Yeah.
somebody else comes to get
Right.
it, it's consolidating the ride requests.
But it's 37 rides per day on average, 5 days a week. Is that correct? For downtown, yeah.
So,
That seems pretty good.
yeah, so our downtown, is about 27% of all of our service. And, because downtown is further and there are a number of stops that can be accommodated, it can be 30 to 40 minutes of a wait time, on the bus to go from the pickup to their drop-off location.
So the rides within the community are less than the rides
I
downtown,
know,
29 versus 37.
yes.
No, 29
29%.
No,
per bus.
Yes, 29 per bus per day, and then 37
145 per day.
37 downtown rides total.
and
That's
just,
why I like to ask questions along the way.
all right, yeah, we have to do it, okay. I won't suggest that again. So in terms of the per ride, and I know with the downtown, we're getting this supplement, but are you basing that cost on what we have budgeted, the staff of 9, or what we're actually spending the staff of 7?
So this is based on what we're providing right now with the number of rides that are provided
We're actually spending-
overall.
What we're spending, okay.
Right, so if we have 9 staff, I can tell you we would have different hours, I can't tell
No,
you we
no.
would have more rides.
Right,
So we base it on the 7. And there's always an interest of locations or services by the community of they would like to have provided, and some things are just not compatible with what our current budgeted and staffing level is. Some include the John Muir Medical Center as well as Kaiser Park Shadelands. Doing these 2 additional areas would further take one driver at a time, 30 to 40 minutes outside the community, and taking them away from the service within the community, which is why we do provide Kaiser Newell downtown.
Do we have any idea how many people would choose John Muir if it was available?
I don't have that number, no.
Okay.
Sorry, sir, you can let us know informally after the meeting.
There's also interest, for instance, to go to surrounding cities. This would just replicate CCTA services that are provided, and Route 1 is directly outside the gates at the shopping center, which connects to 14 other locations. So rather than our staff being pulled to go to other cities, we have the ability to go to the shopping center for them to do connections with CCTA. There's always an interest for a specific shuttle service from clubs as well as for recreation events. For instance, a club has a large event at the event center. They would like a specific shuttle just for that club. That's not something that we will provide. It's a shared ride service, so allocating one driver to specifically focus on one group is not something that we would are able to provide. And then there is interest or the desire for a hop on, hop off or fixed routes, and hop on and hop off or walk-ons. We will try to accommodate if it fits into the schedule, but if it affects the current schedule in any way, delaying other riders from their pickup or drop off, we are not able to accept walk-ons. And we'll have them scheduled for a different time to have a scheduled pickup. And fixed routes, we no longer have fixed routes. To have a fixed route, I know we used to have them. It makes it slightly unreliable or unpredictable if one staff is allocated to just one of the locations or one of the routes and we're no longer able to provide that service that day, or the locations have to change. So having the on-demand service provides more what's the word I'm looking for?
Reliable.
Reliable, yeah. And with the service, there are always wait times. And that will come from the number of riders that we have. Our buses do accommodate up to 16, and the more riders we have, the longer the wait will be on the bus. This happens a number of times at the fitness center. We have a lot of really great classes at the fitness center, so we'll do a large pickup after one program, say, ends. The more residents on the bus, the longer it will be until you're dropped off. We also service quite a large area, so the valley is 1,800 acres. We have 14 miles of the roadway, and we go to 10 stops downtown. So we have quite a large area that we cover with currently 5 staff, ideally 7. And so the farther we go or the more locations we service, the wait times will increase. With that, temporary staff shortages, vacancies, vacations, and unexpected illnesses affect the number of drivers that we have available. The less drivers that we have that day, the longer the wait times will be. There are a number of events that happen every day, and there are peak times in the year. And the more activities we have, the more interest that there is specifically for events, to not have to drive if they're, say, someone that doesn't utilize the bus often but don't want to park or don't want to drive themselves, they'll use the bus too. So more activities, more users, which will increase wait time. And finally, since this happens often with downtown traffic, detours and backups that are out of our control will increase the wait times as well. So when we cannot provide service, so our staff, our dispatchers will accept any ride that is within the our request window, service hours, and service area. If we cannot accommodate for this specific time, we'll always work with them to try to find another time so that they are able to get their ride. Like as I was saying before, high demand increases the delays and the pickup wait times. There are times when, because of the delays, that times the resident's request no longer works, so they can voluntarily decline the service and use another form of transportation to get to their destination. And as I was previously speaking about, unscheduled walk-ons, while we try to accommodate if we can, many times we can't without negatively impacting the other riders that are already scheduled for that bus.
How does someone identify themselves as a walk-on? Are they at one of those stops and they just wave? I mean, how does?
So all of our rides are requested through our dispatcher, and our drivers will have a full list of who they're picking up at what location and with their drop-off location. So if that person is not on that list, they would be considered a walk-on. And so since we know where the driver knows where they're going and where their drop-offs are going to be, if that person can be accommodated, they will try. But if it's going to negatively affect, if there's on the opposite side of the community and will impact the wait times for the other riders, we aren't able to.
So if there's a bus picking people up, somebody might come on there and say, hey, can you take me to so-and-so?
Correct.
Okay, all right, okay. All right. And just a little more information, right, about the fleet?
Yes. So we have, I'll go back. I'll try to go back, hold on. We're not.
We went too far, one too far.
There we go. So we have 3 12-passenger buses and 7 16-passenger buses. All of our fleet are paratransit. They all have lifts that we can accommodate the paratransit requests that come in. Oh my goodness. What is happening?
Oh, you're okay. I think we've seen, we got this on the agenda, so we're probably okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could we go back to 7B31?
7B.
The initial transportation slide.
I'm trying.
Because when you look at this slide, it really identifies the variables about transportation that are at issue. Number one, $1.2 million for a service that is not adequate at this point in time. can't hire the people to drive. So our capacity is minimized. Our service hours then are cut back. I mean, no weekends. Wait times. I mean, calling dispatch to schedule a pickup in an hour that may not be accommodated. That's just, it's not in today's transportation world.
It is actually.
From what standpoint?
From the standpoint, if you are transit dependent, an hour wait time to pre-schedule a ride, very common. If you are scheduling a paratransit service, even farther than that.
Paratransit, I understand.
If you are somebody that is used to Uber Lyft.
Yeah.
And you want, and you're not transit dependent, you have other options, then you want on demand, you want, right, within 8 minutes.
It's more than 3 minutes, I'm like, what?
Mhm.
Right, so the service that we are offering currently is not that. It is a service that is basically designed for transit dependent residents. That's the focus.
So that gets to the very question of how is transportation defined as an amenity?
That's the
Rossmore
conversation
residents?
that we're gonna start having on Thursday with.
At the planning committee, yeah.
So there's some KPIs here that are, well, not they're KPIs, but they're information we will really need in order to understand this stuff. We have numbers of total rides per day, but we don't know where the people are going. Are they going from a home to Gateway or, a central facility within Rossmore? Is that the bulk of the transit? Or is it from my house to his house? We don't have any understanding at this point of that. We don't have any understanding, and I don't see how we would get that. Well, I don't know, maybe you have some information about people calling and saying, I want to go to X, where X is John Muir or Concord or whatever. That we don't have a sense of.
Able to accommodate.
Yeah, I mean, where we can't accommodate, how many requests are we getting that we cannot deal with? Would be helpful to understand. Because.
But quite honestly, devoting any more time to KPI discussion on a transportation system that is about to be discussed in planning with major changes, I don't think it's worth our time.
Mhm.
But I'm not a voting member.
No,
Well, I think. No,
Well,
but
no,
I think it's important that we understand what we should be
Yes.
measuring. No,
Yeah.
not what we're measuring here, but what we should be measuring.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and for whatever it is that we're going forward with. So if we can say how many failed transit requests were there, that's an important measure. How many were successful, how many were fulfilled, how many requested and were unfulfilled. Ideally, it'd be 0 unfulfilled and, or something like that. But I mean, all I'm trying to get at is that's a KPI that would be useful no matter what.
And I've been, I'm looking around here, hands up. I think I've been challenged with the same thought, Dwight, and I would also like to have Jeff chime in because I know staff and other folks are looking at transportation right now. And is there any information we could glean right now that you're either collecting or that wouldn't take a huge effort to collect that would be helpful in some way? That's a question I have. I think there are other areas that we've talked about today already where we could have maybe a more meaningful impact or get information that might be more helpful. But what do you think, Jeff, about the transportation KPIs? Or in general?
I think it is a difficult one because what we really right now have to define with planning and ultimately the community is what type of service and who are we trying to design the service for. specifically, there are two different types of users. There's transit dependent and there is those that would use it out of convenience if it was an option. And we really need to decide who are we trying to meet the needs for, because the service looks very different for both. And where do you put your resources? If you're putting your resources more towards out of convenience, you have to constrain your resources to a specific time, location, so there's enough resources there to deliver that service, which means it's less available for transit-dependent people to use it outside that area. I don't know within this is valuable information in terms of kind of what the service is doing today.
Yeah.
But where it goes, it's background information.
This is where a survey of unmet demand or preference to type of transportation would be useful. That's not really the KPI's responsibility, but maybe.
Yeah, even those are really, really challenging in this realm, because you ask the question, would you use, and people are very apt to say, yes, of course, yes. And then reality, but I think what we need to do is really understand what is the profile of each user type and what is it going to take in order to meet that profile, which we can pretty well glean based on what services are available currently, such as the Uber, Lyft, and how are those utilized, and what's the expectation? And what will it take to get you out of your car to come to Gateway?
Convenience.
Right?
I'll tell you right now,
Go ahead,
an hour pickup wait time and 20-minute ride on a bus, and so an hour and 20 minutes will never get me to get out of my car,
Right.
ever.
Never. And if
There will
we
come a time
move,
though when you may have to come out of your car.
but if
No, I
we
need something else.
if we move halfway there and it's instead of an hour, it's 30 minutes, that's still probably not going to get you out of your car.
Right.
But if somebody doesn't have a car, they do not have other transportation options, they will happily schedule their appointments and make their schedule an hour in advance and know that it's going to be there, it's going to get them where they need to, it's going to pick them up, it's going to get them home, and they have mobility options outside of being, relying on a friend or something. So it's an extremely different audience that you're trying to accommodate and how the service is designed. I can't stress enough the importance of that conversation.
Well, and it's sort of like paratransit versus general transportation, very different profiles there.
Right, but in general transportation, even within a market like San Francisco, is extremely different than a market here, because you would get on a bus in San Francisco even if you have a car, because you don't want to deal with the headache of driving. It's just not the case here. So, there's so many different factors of what we're trying to accommodate. It's not a straightforward answer.
Look forward to
My best
Thursday's
guess.
meeting.
Go ahead, Alan, if you had something to say.
Just thought we were moving on.
Well, all right, hang on. Would it be useful in any way if we were able to, for a period of time, manually, I'm assuming, track the number of requests that are just not filled? Would that give you any information that would be useful?
I think people have given up on that. I don't call transportation because I know it's a waste of my time.
I've seen buses I live close to the fitness center, and I'll see buses sitting there and there's nobody on it, and eventually they'll leave. And there might be one person sometimes sitting out there waiting for a bus. And I don't know how long they've been waiting, but they go by the house. Coming up here, I passed an empty bus when I drove up here. So I don't know, but I think it's a tough nut to crack. And I agree with Jeff on that, and that I think probably my opinion is you have to focus on the people who need that service. And the rest of us, probably aren't gonna use it anyhow, because we don't need it. And if you send a survey out, I think you'll get the same response everybody wanted. They'll think it's a good idea, but they don't use it. They probably won't tell you they don't use it. I think that's one of those things that needs to be highly focused. And for an hour and 20 minutes, I call an Uber. You know, they'll tell me how long it'll be before somebody shows up. And they're pretty good about it. So. I don't know.
Well, there are people here, I mean, like I run into this problem all the time, where we have one car. Okay, we decided 2 cars just didn't make any sense anymore. I have a meeting down here. My wife wants to go off someplace and go shopping and do whatever. We have a battle. Who's gonna get the car to drive down here, you know, so.
I'm in the same fix. My wife tells me to walk.
I had an excuse for a while, but but anyway, so I mean, there are people here who could use a car, would use a car, but there are times when it's just inconvenient to, or there's a resource conflict. So I think we do have another group of people where there might be some demand. And again, it's hard to understand where that would be, and it's really not a KPI at this point.
Somebody put in the mailboxes here, put a card in that they'll give you a ride to Rossmore for $5.
Jitney service, that's what we need.
Well, I just want to verify, I'm getting a consensus here that in terms of KPIs, we had great information, much better understanding. But it's also a topic that we're considering studying. We're going to review at planning and other places. So I think this would not be, although we're interested and we know this area is very important to our residents, and that's one of the reasons why we called it out of all the areas we could consider. But I think at this time, it's probably not an appropriate time for us to do this. The interesting thing that I would see is, and in the future, possibly a recommendation for work in the future, is that as we are developing new transportation systems or methodologies, let's develop some KPIs in the beginning that can help us monitor and measure the success. I mean, that's because if we're starting something new, it's a great opportunity to try to develop some kind of a measure.
I mean, I think the information that Kelsey provided here gives you a significant amount of information on the service, the hours, the pickups, the number of rides, the locations. And it helps you understand the market we're currently needing. So even if this was used and the system was better defined when it was accepted, that's what it is, this might be extremely beneficial. But until we define the system, this isn't gonna apply directly, because if we're trying to apply that to a different style system, we're gonna say, well, it's not meeting the demand, right? But so that it's valuable information, is there, and we can continue to collect it. It's just how are we applying it right now?
Could I make a suggestion? for
Yes, absolutely.
Next meeting, you know, I am always obsessed with exclusive use amenities and spaces. And I would love to see square footage compared to usage for those exclusive use amenities. So for example, the library is huge. You know, what's that square footage and how many people use it? And you know, that, or the wood shop, or the ceramics, you know, I think it's good for us to know the square footage, which applies to custodial and all those sorts of things, and whether they're being used or not. Just a suggestion.
Yeah, and I know that has come up before, and I would defer, Jeff, to you in terms of our ability to define the usage. We probably could define the square footage. I'm not saying that's not a valid request. We've talked about it before. So is that something that you think we could work on, Jeff?
We can. Timing and what data we have available to collect in conjunction with the groups, because we're not collecting usage data right now. It's somewhat dependent, but.
Well, we can work on that. I would really like to, so what I've heard today, and please, folks, confirm this or dispute it, whatever, and I want to thank Kelsey for all her work on this.
Yes.
I've heard in terms of room reservations, that we're interested in trying to determine, in a sense, what need isn't being met, and I'm not quite sure how we would do it, but we're not tracking right now the number of reservations that are not completed. And I want to acknowledge that the staff does everything they can to try to accommodate a request, even if it's a different venue than the requester originally asked. So I'm putting it out there that I feel like we need to try to develop something on the room reservations in terms of what's fulfilled, how many are fulfilled. Is our goal to fulfill 100% or 90%? And are we coming up with 50 or 60%? And the other thing that I heard, there's a lot of information here about the custodial and janitorial work. And I think Adrian, you had mentioned the custodial setup. And is there a way, and this is not in any way saying that our custodians are not working as hard as they can, but how can we define the percentage of effective, whatever the word is, custodial setups that match whatever the floor plan was? When you get into that, there's all kinds of ways about those floor plans and how they get to people. I mean, there's a number of different factors in that. But I think both of those things are areas where it would be useful for us to try to move forward. And we would have to be working with Jeff, your designated staff, or Kel, whoever we'd have to, I don't see that we could come up with that approach without working with staff. Or maybe Kelsey, we could just work with you on that. But what do you folks think?
I think it's very understanding the quality of the setup is an important aspect of what we're doing, because that's a service we're delivering. And how do you measure quality? Do you measure it by accuracy? And we understand that it's not a precise number, but trying to measure it, trying to get some idea about it will teach us a whole lot about, okay, if we mess up in this way, that's a real problem. If we mess up this way, it's no big deal. That's part of the reason for doing KPIs is to understand what service you're delivering and whether you're going about it the right way. It's not really necessarily the number.
Right.
Okay. I asked to be on the agenda for today. And so far I haven't heard anything in that area. So here's what my thinking about the KPIs. We have a lot of data points here, amount of data points. When I read those, it reads like job descriptions and not just the way I read it. And the other thing is that almost at the end of every one of those slides, it talks about budget and staffing limitations. So we're being put in a box, and we have to work with this. And the one thing I don't hear at all in any of these discussions are goals and objectives. And I'll give you an example. I sent an email to the work order desk several weeks ago. And I did not get any response from them until 24 hours later. Okay, is that what they expect? I don't know. I know as a person using a service, I would have thought I might have got a little response a little quicker than 24 hours later. So I don't know what their plans or their goals for handling those phone calls or emails that come into their place. We don't know what any of these goals and objectives are because we've never heard of them. I've never heard one. And I don't know how you write a KPI without a goal and objective. It's effective. So I have, when I read through all of this, I've worked on it, I've tried to think about how you would write KPIs, and I've struggled. But I like what you've been saying, and there are some points in here that maybe we can pull out. But I think the teams need to have goals and objectives so we can measure whether they're effective or not. And the other side of that is if you do that, and then you do measurements, then you find out the weak points along the way that need to be looked at. Maybe there's another way of doing that process than what they're currently doing, and doesn't cost money and doesn't cost more manpower. And without that laid out, we don't know. And I don't know, maybe they're out there and we just haven't been presented to us.
The other thing I think that we should be considering is, you know, and I know we keep talking in terms of KPIs, but some of this is just good metrics to disclose to the community. For example, you know, where are we at capacity on room reservations? And some people say, I'm still having trouble getting a room reservation. Well, if we still have we're at 75% capacity, that means there's 25% of our meeting times that are still available. And so I think we need to think in terms of communicating to residents and the community good information that makes them feel comfortable with where things are. And Kelsey, what you put together is awesome, a little voluminous for the community to digest, but it's really good information for us to have.
I've dropped the number, I asked people, do you know how many toilets we have that have to be cleaned? And they all look at me like, are you crazy?
Yeah.
Nobody asked me what the number was. They just say, you nuts?
I didn't ask, huh?
But it's
I'm not so sure some of that minute details they care about.
Well, I think I agree with you, Dwight, in terms of sharing information with the community. I still am trying to figure out how we can, all these issues are so complex. I mean, maybe the big message is things are a lot more complex than they seem to you, so don't just assume, you know, you can know what's going on. But, you know, one of the things I have heard from a couple people is, particularly in regard to new clubs, and I'm not suggesting we would limit the clubs or anything like that, but the new clubs that don't have the history bookings, I have heard from a number of people that we just can't get rooms. And it may have a lot to do with the time period and what room they want, and there are all kinds of factors. But I think this issue of people saying, well, I couldn't get the room reservation I wanted, how can we try to determine what's happening there? And is it worth trying to determine that?
Well, I'm not familiar with actually doing a room booking, but I know that a group that I'm familiar with had trouble and they have a history. And we didn't get our holiday party determined until real late in the game. But we had history for years and we couldn't get it done. So I don't know what really goes on there as a firsthand knowledge, but there is an issue because you hear it mumbling all the time. People talk about it all the time.
Mm-hmm. Well, so I'm looking at the time. We have until 3 o'clock. If not, we'd get it done sooner. And we also wanted Joyce to talk a little bit about the Fellows Project. But
so if I can.
Yeah, please recap, Jeff.
I think your focus is really on kind of reservations, which involves room reservations, AV, setup, and custodial. It's kind of the package. So we're really focusing on that. For room reservations, we could track requests that are met as requested. Yeah. So that's pretty straightforward. It was the first request. Yes, we met it. Then check the box. Yeah. How many requests were met, but based on an offer of an accommodation. So a different venue, a different time, a different day, but it was requested, it was met. You know, how many fall into that category? Or how many were denied or turned down because it didn't meet what their specific request was. So that kind of gives us a sense of where are we meeting the demand? And then custodial, it's accuracy of setups, cleanliness of room in preparation for rental. Kind of what percentage of the time are we hitting the mark on that and out of? We could certainly do and kind of have performance goals. I think, Alan, what you're talking about in some areas of, how quickly do we turn around a request? How responsive are we to an email, to reservation desk, or a phone call from point A to point B for different types of reservations? How long does it take? What is reasonable?
Okay.
Did we get the smiley face or the brown face?
Probably won't always get the smiling.
Brown, or the brown, I don't know.
Well, what I'd like to suggest is that given, I think Jeff, that was a great summary of where we are on some of these things. I would like to work with staff on further refining how we might approach this. And if anybody else wants to join me on the task force, that's fine. Or if a certain subject area is interesting to you, just let me know about that. And my goal is to have, for our next meeting in February, 2 or 3 KPIs that we will look at as a task force and decide, is this something, do we want to proceed? Do we want to fine tune it? Do we want to take another approach? So if that's okay. All right, that sounds good. And I just also want to say, Joyce, it has been wonderful that you stayed with us the whole time and heard all this discussion. And Joyce and Ife, who isn't with us today, have developed an outline, just a beginning of an outline in terms of how they might want to move forward in developing really a template or a process for us to use to develop KPIs in the future, because we're really just kind of, learning it from flying by the seat of our pants right now, and that shouldn't go in the paper, but maybe it will.
That's right.
But I think particularly as an outcome of this program, if we can have an approach and a template for future groups and staff to consider KPIs, that would be great. So Joyce, I don't mean to do all the talking. You want to share some of your thoughts?
Yeah, sure. So Ife and I know Ife is not here. She unfortunately got stuck on a call. But we did have like a very rough outline of a possible framework on, what a committee could utilize on when creating KPIs. So she and I plan to meet sometime this month to kind of maybe fine tune it so that we could provide a template for you guys, but also we'll be checking in with Dwight, who's our mentor, to just get any feedback, but also any insights as well. But today's meeting was very helpful, just hearing about all the different information, but a lot of data, which I think would be helpful in creating the KPIs for you guys too.
Oh, that's terrific. Thank you so much, Joyce. Any questions for Joyce? Okay, before we close, I know this gentleman, you had wanted to make a comment. We have a little bit of
He was just
time.
indicating he is.
Oh, you wanted to go to John Muir, or no?
Exactly.
Well, go ahead if you had a comment about that, please.
I would like to speak on behalf of people who need to ride.
Right.
We don't have the option. And we want to get someplace. The current system sometimes works. Sometimes getting an hour lead time and going out the bus stop to make sure they don't leave without you, which they have done. Go right by the bus stop. And other times, there is no mechanism to call in and find. I've been here for 30 minutes. The bus was due 25 minutes ago. Dispatch can't tell me what's going on. It would be really, really great if a bus was running late for whatever reason. If they could advise dispatch, and then dispatch could respond to any rider that is sitting there wondering, well, did they not understand when I called in? I appreciate there are people in this room and in the community who say, it's all too much of a hassle, I'll drive, or I'll call Uber, or I'll call Lyft. But if you're dependent on that every day,
right,
for every destination, it's a little onerous.
Well, I appreciate your interest and there is, just real quick, and then also the planning committee will be discussing transit and they're meeting on Thursday at 10 o'clock, is that right?
That is correct. I
Okay.
had to think about the time because we switched it, yes.
And yes, one quick comment before we close.
Yeah, I'm Roxanne Stallings, and I'm mostly interested in the transportation, but what I learned a lot this month and last month attending the meeting, and I really appreciate what Kelsey Plummer gave us today. And what I heard today is very different, new information, I guess is internal management policy. Is this published any place where we can have access? Because my experience of getting transportation and what she said about accommodating people at the last minute, hop on, hop off, is completely different than what I have experienced when I called 25 minutes short of, 25 minutes before the, no, 50 minutes before the hour to get a ride for the next hour. And I was told, absolutely no, our policy is you must call within that hour. And you are 5 minutes late in calling, we will not give you a ride. So the policy is not being transmitted to the employees, and it certainly is not being transmitted to us residents unless it's published someplace. Do you have that? Thank you.
Well, thanks for that comment, and also all the information that Kelsey has created for us is on our agendas, so that's available if anybody even figures out to go to the KPI task force agenda, and we can talk.
And it's on rossmore.com.
Yeah, and it's on rossmore.com, but, and I understand that not necessarily everybody would look at this, but please tell your friends and neighbors to check it out. All right, well, we're at 2:50. Very well spent. Thanks, everybody. And we'll be back together in February, I think sometime in February. Okay, thank you, everyone.